Good afternoon and welcome back to our channel today. It is Dan coming to you from the Soulify group. And of course, you can see that I'm outdoors and I decided to come out here into nature. I haven't been in a little bit, other than, walking around for short periods of time. But I thought it was such a beautiful day today. And the Spirit of God just told me to come on out here and do that and really commune with nature. And some of my best friends are here today. And the friends that I'm talking about is when I used to come out here quite a bit, the geese would see that people were around and they would come flying. You could see them coming flying in. And there's usually like 8 of them. And before we end our video today, I'm going to turn the camera around and let you see the little pond that they have here. Some people call it lake, but it's kind of a pond. And we'll let you see them. I don't know if they'll be here when we're finished. But it's actually just so heartwarming because usually they'll come over to me and I just talk to them like they're, my best friends, and then they start talking back. And it's just a really beautiful experience. But today I wanted to welcome, of course, all of those that are watching from inside or outside of the United States today. And I'm just so happy that you're here with us, and I hope you enjoy seeing the outdoors for a change. And it's really starting to warm up and be like spring. And so anyway, welcome to each one of you, especially to our LGBTQ plus community. And again, I'm going to let you all know that you're all welcome here. It doesn't matter your walk of life. It doesn't matter whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual like me, or if you're from a church or a group or a denomination, or it doesn't matter. And we have many people from different walks of life. If you follow the Buddhist teaching, or you're agnostic or atheist, or you're a Christian or Muslim, or whatever walk of life you come from, I'm happy always to have you, and because we love each and every one of you that take part. And since I'm out here in the wind, I'm hoping that it doesn't blow everything away. But again, welcome, and we will start in with this week's video. And I thought we would sort of share some spiritual text with you as we go along, but mostly I want to talk about the practicality of healing and the different, some of the different things that you may encounter, because sometimes we talk one or the other, practical, or sometimes we share, from a spiritual standpoint. And even when we talk about spirituality, of course, there are different thought processes. I'm mostly spiritual. I'm not, I don't consider myself religious. And so I have had quite a bit of experience with healing, the awakening process, enlightenment, and different avenues. And so I see that some of you are having difficulty, as of course we all do when we first wake up. We're trying to figure it all out and figure out what's next and what's going to come next and next. And so I hope that you enjoy the video today. And if you do, I just wanted to invite you to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button. But if you don't want to, or you rather not, that's that's perfectly fine. We're out here to just share, share the information. And of course, we have other things that we do as well. So actually, any monies that we make from YouTube through the channel, we invest it back into the community. So it's that's kind of how the way I see things, and if we can help someone in the process, then that's fantastic. And so the last few weeks we've talked about a lot of different things as far as healing, about awakening, and so like I said, we want to kind of combine some spiritual teaching, but a lot of practicality, because actually all of us, regardless of your walk of life, this is what we really want to know, right? And so what can we expect, and why is it so difficult for some, and others it seems like they just breeze right through it, right? And so in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 30, it talks about if you're tired, whether that means physically or spiritually, or your soul is tired, it may be your body's tired. So in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 to 30, he invites you to come to him. And so I'm going to, again, sort of let you know that I may use the term God, Spirit, Source, Universe, Yahweh, but whatever you resonate with, whatever your belief system is, that's perfectly fine. Whatever you view as your higher power, that you look to, your Creator, is perfectly fine. So I just wanted to make sure you realize that I'm not just, bypassing what you believe in, but it would take a lot of time from the video, or it would make the video extremely long. So let's sort of unpack what we have today. So as we have been talking about waking up and awakening and why we should wake up, we looked in Revelation chapter 3, and we discovered that most of us, when we wake up, we're spiritually blind, or, we wouldn't be asleep to begin with, right? And so that blindness, we found out what the antidote was, and that was, if you remember, that was applying that spiritual eye salve, and focusing on our path or our journey once we wake up. So sometimes, we get tired. We're not sure which end is up, especially when we first awaken spiritually. You may find that there are a lot of grief, negative feelings, negative emotions. We can't control our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions, and therefore we're not really sure where to even begin, right? And so, here, I want you to know that this journey, and it is a journey, and the reason we call it that is that this is not just a weekend seminar or a weekend set of videos that you watch and you go, okay, I got it. Okay, now I can heal. No, so it is a process. And as far as when you first wake up, normally we have shadow work to do, or some call it the dark night of the soul. And all that is that as we discover the whole reason that we woke up, sometimes it's a negative event. Sometimes it comes from maybe a death in the family. Maybe you had an automobile accident and it just really got you to thinking like, wow, life is short. What am I really what is this whole thing really about, right? And so sometimes that prompts us to start delving into all the negativity that we have, the way people have treated us over the years. If you're older like me, maybe you're not, maybe you're young, maybe you had a hard childhood, maybe you had a hard adolescence, but whatever the case is, there's hope, and I want you to know as you start your journey and you embark on that dark night of the soul or that shadow work, that's just where, all of us have dark and we have light within us. And so there's many things that we have to heal, right? And we have to figure out how we have come to this place, how we came to this position. And, many times the way people have treated us or we've treated other people, we have to start kind of digging down through the layers. And what I mean by that is in our heart space, in our non-physical self, our soul, we've accumulated all this stuff. It may be broken relationships. It may be, your children and you don't have the best relationship. Maybe it's just that you go from job to job and you can't quite, get a handle on things. Maybe you're homeless. Maybe other devastating things have happened. And so we need to understand how to proceed. Now, the dark night of the soul isn't going to last forever. That's like the initial, I think the initial sort of like, sticker shock, you might say. To put it into modern terms, you wake up and you realize that a lot of things have not gone the way you thought they would in your life. And I went through that too. We're all in this together. And I want you to know that your journey is just that. It's a journey, and you can do this. A lot of people feel overwhelmed because they say, well, my life has so much stuff that happened. But it's okay. You take it one step, little baby steps. It's a path that unfolds. And as we figure it out, as we heal ourselves and we peel back all the layers, you're going to, if you haven't already, like earlier in your life, you're going to meet your spirit team, your divine team, whoever you resonate with, depends on who is in your spiritual team, right? There's angels, of course, archangels, there's whoever is your God source, spirit source, universe, and maybe you have all of those. And so you can really rely on them because they're the ones that's going to actually explain your path to you. They're the ones that's going to speak with you. They're the ones that's going to direct your path. And the reason I'm mentioning it like this is that so many times, well-meaning people, even like myself, I'm out here trying to let the people know, hey, it's okay. There's help available. However, this is your path. This isn't my path. So I'm not here to direct you to how I healed or the pathway that I went down. But I'm just here to show you that it's not just possible, but it's very feasible for you to heal yourself. And then, we want to, for those of you that's followed me for any length of time, you all know that I end up talking about our purpose because the purpose is so vitally important. And so as we start to heal some of these things, some of them have been devastating. I know in my own life I had many devastating situations, and I even, drove around looking up the people that I had a problem with, or they had a problem with me, or whatever, so that we could sort of talk about it together. We could forgive each other if it was a two-sided thing. But sometimes you find that you can't find the people, and so you determine, you reach out to God, Spirit, Source, Universe, and you can do that through Spirit as well. And so the Lord is telling us in the Scriptures that, actually in Proverbs, don't despise the chastening of the Lord when He corrects you, because He only corrects those that He loves, right? Now, He loves all of us, right? Each one of us are His creation, whether we acknowledge it or we don't. And He wants us to come to Him. And so some of the things that usually we're going to wake up being very inauthentic, meaning that we're wearing lots and lots of masks over our face, right? You remember the COVID masks. Sometimes you couldn't tell who you were speaking to, right? Because there were so many masks. But the reason there are masks over our face is because we, over the years, have been trained, really ever since a baby, how to get things done. Whatever we feel inside, in our heart, sometimes we think that we have to cover our face and tell the world what they want to hear, tell each other what we think they want to hear, our loved ones, our children, our spouses, our partners, whatever the case may be. And so as we go through the healing process, this inauthenticity will turn into authenticity. So what are some of the reasons why we're inauthentic? Well, just throwing some things out there, and I'm not speaking to any specific person or type of person, but sometimes we are people pleasers. We limit our own self because we think that's what is going to make a better relationship. We think that's what's going to we're going to get along with people at work, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we have a tendency to allow other people to take the how do I want to put this? Sometimes we allow people to run over us, use us as a doormat, and instead of caring about our own hearts, we're constantly trying to do something for someone else, and in hopes it's not legitimate. There's nothing wrong with doing things for others. I don't want you to get that impression. But sometimes, we fill other people's cups instead of our own, and then we find out that we're destitute at the end of the day, right? And then we find out, why is my life so messed up, and Sally Jane over here seems to breeze through life, right? And so there's a reason for that, because first of all, guys, we have to pour all the love into ourselves. We have to realize where we are. And there's something called self-limiting beliefs, where we've allowed people from babyhood to tell us we're not going to amount to anything, tell us we're not worth anything, you'll never amount to anything, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're beautiful, you're ugly, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough intelligence to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And throughout life, and by the way, most of these come about during childhood, adolescence, and then by the time we hit our teen years and young adulthood, we're pretty messed up as far as realizing our worth, realizing who we are. And if you could only see what the Creator sees in you, I mentioned this in many videos, so if you've heard it, I know you're going to say, oh, he's saying the same thing again. But I feel like I must. So we have such a large presence. We have a very large non-physical self, meaning our soul, our heart space, everything that's inside here. And then we have a body, right? We're all human, so we have a physical self. So a lot of people misunderstand that. They think the body is the bigger, organism, and our soul is in our body, but actually it's the other way around. Our body is inside our massive soul. And if you could only see what Spirit, Source, Universe, God, Yahweh, how they look at us. We're a magnificent creation. And so we're all source energy, right? We're all light, but we have dark within us as well. And so we have to balance the light and the dark. And that's one of the reasons we go into that shadow work, or we have a shadow, which is the darker side that we have to kind of, calm down, or balance is a good word. And so as we go through this, so many times the reason we wake up and we feel, uneasy, we feel negative, we have a lot of negative emotions, is because our soul already knows what our purpose is. This beautiful non-physical self that is part of you, is the bigger piece of you, already knows what your purpose is, because your purpose is interwoven not only in your soul, but in your heart, in your higher self, or your over self, some people call it. And so the problem is that we're not in alignment with our own self. In other words, we're wearing the mask of inauthenticity, but yet our soul knows that's not where we're supposed to be at. They know that beautiful purpose already, that God, Spirit, Source, Yahweh has for you. But you're just waking up, so it's okay. Don't be hard on yourself, because many things have happened to people. Many hurts, many wounds have happened, and even worse than that. But we want to seek our higher self. And as I mentioned, like in my experience, I looked for the people that I had problems with, or that didn't work out right. And so the Lord in Luke tells us to forgive each other, whether it doesn't matter whose fault something is. Forgive each other, and then the Lord will forgive you, or forgive us, right, as we forgive each other. And it doesn't matter whose fault something is, and who, what happened, and all of this kind of stuff. Because you may not realize it, but as we forgive others, it releases us. It releases us from that wound, or from that abrasion, or from that, and some of the wounds go very, 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 very deep. I know mine, I had to heal my inner child, because I had a lot of things happen to me in childhood that carried all through my adult years. And until I woke up, which was about 7.5 years ago, I didn't even realize some of the things. And also your inner critic too comes into play. Your ego, oh my goodness, we're going to talk about ego here in just a minute. But seek out your higher self. Tune into your higher self, and they're very instrumental in letting you know what your purpose, get started, what area to look in. But I can tell you a little helpful hint is that your purpose is where your passions lie. But you still want to seek out God, Spirit, Source, Universe, Yahweh, because it's not only in a general sense what your purpose might be. It's as that starts to unfold, you're going to find that it's very, very specific, and you're already going to love what your purpose is. I promise you, you're going to love what the purpose is. And so if you don't do that, you're going to end up being wandering around, going from place to place, people to people, and still not really know what the purpose of this life is for you. And so seek alignment with all, your spirit team, your higher self, and your total inner soul, right? And then we can start to realize what the next step in our healing process is. And so again, I'm going to say my path isn't your path. Each person has a different path. Each person has their own wounds. Each person heals differently. So if you've got somebody trying to help you, or you listen to a lot of videos, understand they're only trying to, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm only trying to let you know what the process may be, but it's all up to you. It's your purpose, it's your life, it's your body, it's your heart space that has been wounded. And so make the request to your divine team. Just say, hey, I have a lot of emotions and thoughts and feelings that I can't, I just can't control them, and I couldn't either. And this is the whole purpose I created this channel, is to help people. Now, there's something called self-awareness that is going to help us turn all of those unwanted thoughts, feelings, and emotions into the ones that we do want, into those beautiful, loving emotions, into getting rid of all the thoughts that come bombarding at us. And we're going to do a workshop again on self-awareness, because there are 13 modalities, and there is a video. If you look in our course catalog there, it's there, and we go through all 13 of them. And we're not going to highlight them today, but we're actually going to do a live workshop on that. And so I hope that you guys will, and that's one of the beauties of subscribing to the channel, is that you get quick knowledge of when some of these special programs are coming along, or you have to wait for the general internet to upload. So one of the things that we want to talk about is spiritual practice. Now, once you wake up, like when you first wake up, you need to probably, is what I did, is build the spiritual practice that you resonate with. Whether that's, and I'm just going to throw some suggestions out there, reading the scriptures, or whatever material that what you resonate with has. I know the Muslim faith has much material that has been inspired. You have, the Buddhist teaching, follows teaching. Almost every walk of life has material that will lead you in the way that you need to go. And so we want to seek alignment not only with our higher self, but with the source that is within us. Don't forget, our non-physical self is source energy. That hasn't changed. That source is perfect. And this is why we have that negative that comes out in negative emotions, thoughts, and feelings, because we're not in alignment with our non-physical self. Our non-physical self is trying to give you a nudge, trying to pull you over here, and you're trying to go over there. And so it's going to make you have that really dense feeling, that low vibrational feel to it. And so make the request to your spirit team. And so the Lord admonishes us to pray for our enemies and those that persecute us. You know, if we follow the example of Jesus, you know, Jesus forgave and prayed for the very people that tortured him, that crucified him. You know, he prayed for Pilate. He prayed for the Jewish people, you know, of that time. You know, and for all of us. You know, he said, I pray not only for these, meaning his disciples, meaning the people that persecuted him, but all the ones that will come after, right? And so we have to develop that spiritual practice. Now, it may be reading the scriptures, prayer, meditation, taking nature walks, because nature has quite a healing balm itself. As we come out here into nature, I ground myself into nature, meaning that, and I really end up plugging this vibration, this energetic workshop that we're about to do, but it's so beneficial because we're going to actually go into the physics part of it, of why we want to do that, why we want to ground ourselves, why we want to sit underneath the tree or hug the tree or visualize the animals. So this is what we want to do. And so whatever your spiritual practice ends up being, that's perfectly fine. That's up to you. Whatever you resonate with. And it may be, you know, taking a walk. And so as you practice the spiritual practice each and every day, that beautiful divine purpose is going to unfold little bits at a time, so that you're not overwhelmed. And as you're seeing what that purpose is, we need to take inspired action on what we do know. And you see, there's so much more to this than we're going to be able to record in one video. And this is why I keep talking about it, not only from a spiritual standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint, so that we can get the information out there. I love all of you guys. I love you. This collective, I will always be in defense of this collective and this part of humanity that is suffering because they're asleep and they don't realize it. You know, just like we brought up about Revelation chapter 3, this time period of the world, we don't realize that we need our higher source, whether that be God, Spirit, you know, universe, God, Yahweh, whatever you resonate with. So, again, your higher power will conspire on your behalf to bring you the things that you want. Now, sometimes when we talk about, you know, energetic grid and these types of things, a lot of people think that's only about getting material items that you want to get, you know, the house, the car, money in the bank, a great job, and certainly you can get those things, but for now we're talking about the healing process. And so we're not gonna like heal and then you're gonna start working on your vibrations. No, we're doing all this concurrently, right? And so understand that once you start your journey, once you commit to your journey, you know, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, God, Source, Spirit, Universe will share with you what that purpose is, and it's going to make sense to you because it's something you've always resonated with. It's something that you always wanted. And so when we decide what the purpose is, don't wait to start sharing it. Don't wait to start doing it. Take inspired action. For instance, now you're not expected to have it all figured out, but most of the time, the point I want to bring out here is that we're scared most of the time. We feel fear. We feel pain. We feel, doubt, worry, anxiety. Oh my goodness, I had all kinds of anxiety. And I'm not talking about just this. There's much more to my purpose than making videos. But I can tell you just a real quick little thing. I had such fear of speaking publicly back when I was 19 or so, 18, 19. I was asked to get in front of my peers, first of all, in my high school, and do all kinds of talks. And then, as I, sort of got out in the world and started working, I had a job where I was head of a production department. And of course, they didn't tell me when I first said, yeah, I'll accept this job. And at the end of every year, I had to create financial reports, report to the company, our financial position. Are we making money with the orders that we're running? Are we, that type of thing. And, at one point in time, I had to speak before 1,700 people. And I was scared. I was scared to death. You talk about fear. And really, I'm going to bring this up, but most of you already know, fear and all those thoughts and emotions are, illusions. There's no such thing as fear. It's just what your ego is pouring into your non-physical self or into your heart space. And so we have to our ego is important to us, yes. We don't want to do away with our ego, but it needs to be in the back seat. You need to drive the car for a little while, not your ego, because we find out where everyone's ego is extra, extra, extra large, that there are problems that the ego brings on. And then, we're not willing to let go of that. Okay, so once you know what your purpose is, start boldly stepping into the unknown. Now, I'm going to explain what we mean by the unknown. The unknown is not some mystical place. It's not some woo-woo place that we're trying to get everybody to jump into, right? All the unknown means is that they are possibly skills or activities that you're not used to doing. That's all it is. Whatever makes you comfortable right now, right here, right now, they were unknown at one time. Probably when you were a high school student and you graduated, you weren't used to doing some of the things that probably you do now, right? So whatever your purpose is, let's say it's to have that entrepreneurial spirit. Maybe you're meant to start a business. Maybe you're meant to start some kind of service. Maybe you're meant to open a bakery. Maybe you're meant to get up before large groups of people and speak. Maybe you're a content creator. Maybe you're, you have some sort of ministry. Maybe you're meant to go work at the United Nations, or maybe you're gonna go work at the White House, or whatever country you live in. Whatever it is, probably you're not going to be familiar with it yet. I mean, you're familiar with, if I could only break into that field of work, I would be so happy, And I know that when I met my larger part of my purpose, it was something that I could remember ever since I was a little bitty boy. And I always said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then, I graduated from high school, and then life started happening to me, and so then, so it made sense when I realized what the larger part of my purpose was. And you will as well. But don't be afraid of the unknown. Jump into the unknown. So let's take an example. So let's say that if, you're meant to start a business, right? And let's say that it scares you to have a business. Like, I don't know how to organize it. I don't know the first thing about it or whatever. As I mentioned, take that inspired action. It might be simply that you're going to go to the library and research, how do I get a business license? Once I get the business license, how do I register with the Internal Revenue Service? What documents do I need? Am I going to have employees? Am I going to, just start it. Even if you start it scared, start it. And I promise you, something amazing, something magical is going to happen. So when you show that inspired action, your spirit team is going to meet you more than halfway. And I'm not even going to say halfway. I'm going to say that you're going to get so much help that comes in. And even as you move along that pipeline, and as you get closer and closer to fruition of the first project, you're going to find that suddenly you're going to receive all kinds of help. Sometimes human help, sometimes it's your spirit guide, sometimes it might be in the form of maybe somebody out of the blue is just going to call you and say, hey, we offer startup business licensing and everything you need. It may be something like that. And there you're trying to stay in your comfort zone, and you never will start it, right? And so therefore, it's a part of healing that we have to do. So even if you have to do the first part of it scared, get out there and do it, because once you do the first thing, then all of a sudden you're going to have faith and trust in yourself. You're going to have love pouring into yourself, because guess what? The reason love pours into yourself is because you're actually doing what you were meant to do. And you're going to start aligning with that non-physical self, source energy, your higher self, your spirit team, all these things. So don't wait. Don't feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do that or not. Oh, I might fail. Don't even let fail come into your vocabulary, because I'm going to tell you, failure is only a temporary stop in an action. That's all failure is. You can regroup and go again. That's all. Failure is not stoppage. Failure is just maybe you didn't get the message that you needed one form filed with your state or local government. It's okay. Stop. Get the form. Get whatever it is that you need. And these things are all going to become available to you. So, but if you don't do your passion, if you refuse to do your passion, that dense feeling, initially maybe not, but eventually, if you keep refusing, to do your, that beautiful divine purpose, it's going to burn you from the inside out. I mean, you're gonna feel a lot more, how can I say, not being aligned with your non-physical self. And so, your gifts, actually, I want to talk about gifts for just a minute, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about spiritual gifts, spiritual powers. And so the Lord gives us the talents or the gifts or the powers, whatever you resonate with. And this is not meant for you alone. This is not meant for you to hoard to yourself. Your purpose and all of your spiritual gifts and powers are all part of the global blueprint. So what happens when we say, "Oh, I'm not going to share that with anybody. I'm a powerful person, and I'm just gonna help who I want to help, and I'm not going to do that my purpose because I really don't believe in that," and whatever it is that you may say to yourself. When we do this, we do a couple of things. So you're withholding a beautiful, beautiful divine purpose. And when I say divine, I'm talking about that this is from Spirit. This is from Source. This is a gift unto you. But yet we see a lot of people trying to compare themselves to other people. And then they go, "I want what they've got. Why can't I have that spiritual gift? Or why can't I have that purpose?" Well, first of all, everyone's spiritual or divine purpose is different than the next person. There's no two alike, because you're a different person. You're going to evolve in a different way than the next guy's going to evolve. Your spiritual gifts for your purpose may be that you need something else than that person you're comparing yourself to. And you see, so not only do we do a huge disservice to ourselves, because we're not going to be aligned with our non-physical self. We're going to constantly feel that dense feeling like we're unhealed, like, there's constantly something wrong, like there's wounds constantly, all these things. But when you decide that you're going to follow what your divine team has, given to you, all kinds of doors will open up. All kinds of, you'll have so much abundance that you can't receive it all. But when we go and we are not satisfied with what we've been given, you also withhold that from the world, from the globe, right? Because they're waiting on what your gift is, and it's something specific. It's not just anything general. It's something specific. But so then you end up getting, whether you want to call it stuck or a block or whatever you want to, what label you want to put on that. And so then you start just spinning your wheels instead of moving forward, like the person that you're comparing yourself to. Now, what does comparison get us? I touched on it a little bit earlier. It puts all those masks back on our face, or either they never fell off to begin with. So what we need to be is authentic. We need to have authenticity, and then we're not going to worry about what other people think about us. We're not going to worry about, what the world's thinking about our purpose, our destiny. We're not going to think about all those things. So our purpose will bring all that love to ourselves as we focus on ourselves, repairing our heart, healing ourselves. And don't forget, you have a whole divine team that is helping you. And so when we get into our purpose, or when we take that first, divine inspired action, you're going to start seeing you're coming in alignment with Spirit, Source, God, Yahweh, Buddha, whoever it is. But the design is so simplistic and beautiful. And your enlightenment is for all of us. It's not for you. It's not for you only. It's true. It was given to you because you need certain gifts in order to accomplish that overall purpose and that destiny, and even more important than the destiny, the journey that you've taken on, or the journey that you want to heal yourself and move on to the purpose that you're meant to do. And so, our passions, our curiosity on things will always point to that overall purpose. And so as our purpose unfolds little by little, the divine is going to give you that discernment that you need. Our purpose is bigger than we are. It's much bigger than we are, because we're there unfolding that to the world, not just to the country you live in, not just to the local community you live in. It's for the entire globe, so that your energy, as it rises, as your vibrational grid rises, your frequency rises, and also you're going to be so full of magnetism, and the world is going to take notice of you. But it's bigger than we are, right? We're part of the collective of the globe, right? We're part of this collective. And so maybe the path may seem illogical at first. Maybe you're saying, I don't understand how I'm going to ever do that or whatever. But we take it, one step at a time. Determine that you are going to cultivate faith and trust, especially in yourself, in the divine, and in your purpose. Because as you do that, it's going to make sense to you. Doors will just suddenly open up. Things will suddenly appear. I'm telling you. When I drop the videos of my testimony, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. I'm chronicling this, and I'm telling you, it will happen the same way for you as well. Now, I fear sometimes that the word faith is a catchphrase, faith and trust, in the spiritual community. But faith is actually, if you refer to Hebrews 11, chapter 11, verse 1, it tells us that the faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. So we have to develop faith and trust in order to take a, jump into the unknown. Meaning, we need to start in, even if it's one thing, do one thing toward the purpose, and you'll see things will open up. It will open up. And something else that we need as we develop trust and faith, we need courage. So it takes courage, right? Number one, to just wake up and to start the healing process. But as we start the healing process, remember, all of this isn't going to unfold at one time. You're going to be healing while you're taking that inspired action toward your purpose, while you're doing your things, coming outside of your comfort zone. All these things happen concurrently. So you're not going to wait till you're totally healed, because we're always healing, right? And so, sometimes we mention a text in the Bible that says, that tells us, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, remember, that you can move mountains. But, and that's very true. It's happened in my life. But also, sometimes, Spirit, universe, God, will have us climb the mountain. Sometimes we can't go around the mountain. Sometimes we can't move the mountain. And it's because a certain a certain lesson needs to be learned, right? We sometimes, as we climb the mountain, sometimes as we reach the pinnacle, then doors will just swing open that you didn't even know existed. You'll be invited into rooms that you would have never been invited in. Never. So, as we participate in our own spiritual practices, and I would recommend journaling as well. Those of you that's followed me knows I'm sort of a nut on journaling. I keep multiple journals at the same time, and this really helps as we start to talk about self-awareness. And we start to discover what's going to change our unwanted thoughts, feelings, and emotions into into positive ones. As we discover that process, you're going to see that all of it can be turned. Even the most stubborn thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And then, as you practice self-awareness, I have it down now where I do mine as I'm enjoying my cup of coffee, in the morning. But in the beginning, it may take you a little bit of time if it's been years and years since you've even become self-aware. Mindfulness is hugely important as well. And remember, our journey is going to be expansive, and it's going to be contracting. So when doors start to open, you're going to say, okay, this isn't so bad. And then you might turn a corner, and then it doesn't even look like anything that you're doing, right? You make it up to a new chapter, or maybe you've jumped some sort of timeline, and then it's almost like you're starting all over, but not really, because then you turn another corner and you're just like, oh, wow, this is really easy. This is a lot easier than I thought. So enjoy the journey, getting to your destiny, getting to that beautiful, beautiful purpose. And don't forget, you have a whole divine team right there waiting for you, right there rooting for you, and so, guys, before we close, I just want you to understand, no matter what you're dealing with, because we opened this discussion speaking about healing and waking up, and don't forget my words that, when things feel so dense, when things feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or not, God is never going to give you any trials that you can't. He already knows what you can withstand. And the only reason He gives you those trials or allows challenges to come is to make you stronger. So as you start the mountain climb at the base, right? You go through a few challenges, and then when you have victory over that, you're much stronger. Then you can make it up the next height, right? And then the next height. And then you got this. You're in the middle of the mountain now. And as you're on your way to the top, all these doors are opening. They're encouraging you. And what the Lord uses is challenges, refinement, pruning, and He watches over you minute by minute, because also depends on what you're healing. You may get opposition from different people. You may have challenges with either people, places, or things. And so when we learn to acknowledge, surrender, and release all this baggage that we're carrying around. You see, our heart space is so full is so full that there's no room for God. There's no room for Spirit, Source, Yahweh. And as He wakes you up and you start releasing the things that don't come with you on your new journey, because after all, you're going to become a new person, right? And so it's a beautiful, beautiful path. It's a beautiful journey, and I recommend it highly, highly. And so we're running quickly out of time because I don't like to make these videos longer, really, than an hour. Really, I'd like them to be 30 or 40 minutes, but I would be doing multiple parts to them. But guys, the victory has already been won. When Jesus was raised up on the cross and He was tortured, He was beaten for our mistakes, for all of us, me included. I'm not here saying I've come to some height. I'm saying that we all have come short. And through our purpose, this is the way that God purifies us. He sanctifies us through our purpose. And in the interim, we're helping each other, right? We're we're spreading this to the world. We're going to become of service to a portion of the world. And you see, the victory has already been won. When Jesus said His last words on the cross was, "It is finished." And there were those that misunderstood what He was saying. A lot of people thought He was talking about, well, this bad chapter of mine, or I'm passing away now, it's done, it's finished. No, He was talking about the victory has already been won. The victory's been won over the enemy of all souls. Whether you believe it or not, we're in a great controversy. Evil versus, righteousness, right? Or good, if you want to call it that. And so the victory's already been won. Just a lot of people that are asleep spiritually just don't realize that it's already been won. God's already gone ahead of us. God sent His only Son. He did not spare Him because He loves us. He loves you and me so very much that He allowed His Son to come to this dark, dark world and suffer humiliation, suffer all the physical abuses, suffer all the things that He did for you and for me. And so I could, I have so much passion for this subject because sometimes we go to sleep and we wake up and we don't even, we don't realize we don't have to live in illusion. We don't have to live in mistake after mistake after mistake. We don't have to, be satisfied with mediocrity. We don't have to be satisfied with the status quo. One thing we're going to talk about in the energetic workshop, we don't have to be constantly filled up with fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, bitterness, envy, malice, revenge, right? No. We need to forgive each other, pray for one another, uplift one another, and in so doing, we rise, right? Our journey, our destiny, our beautiful divine purpose is not of our own making. That's something that we decided with Spirit, Source, God, Yahweh. Yes, we had a hand in saying, yeah, I want to do that. I want to come to earth at this specific time. Okay? And so, the way has already been paved. The victory has already been accomplished. But a few weeks ago, I did a video on wearing the armor of God. wearing the armor of God. You have all kinds of tools in your tool belt, and we need to learn how to use them. We have spiritual gifts. We have spiritual powers. We know how to reach people. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I go is, guys, please, please watch your six senses. Protect those six senses. And we're going to talk about how to delete the matrix like I did a few years ago. Watch what goes into this big sponge called our mind. I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm just saying you need to be selective about what you allow yourself to see, smell, touch, all that, and that intuition, okay? Because as you look at things you're not supposed to, or the music, the movies, most of us have too much stimulation, too much. And as we're silent, as we become and surrender ourselves to conscious silence, and but not only silence, stillness. Allow yourself at certain parts of the day to be completely still, because that is where you're going to hear the still small voice of God, your angels, the guides that are trying to guide you, right? That are trying to speak to you, to your soul. They speak to your soul. And so get in alignment with that non-physical self. And you're going to feel so much lighter, and you will have joy, love for yourself. Pour all that love into yourself, and then you're going to experience peace that passes all human understanding. Peace that's only from God, from Source, Spirit, Yahweh, whatever you resonate with. And may your higher power bless you today. May God richly bless you, and you will receive all the abundance. And I'm gonna run. I love you, and until the next video, this is Dan at the Solify Group, and if I can help in any way, it's solify861@gmail.com. Peace.